this video, and welcome to my channel. So if you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. Biology, that's a home for biology if you want to get one in biology. Okay, so let's start. In our today's video, we are going to revise on cell specialization, which is falling under plants and animals. So usually when a plant or an animal cell undergo specialization, it is going to form a specialized cell. So these are the specialized cells that we have. So figure 1.0 shows some specialized cells, PQ and R. So before I answer the following questions, let me just try to identify them. I give you the function, the location, as well as the adaptation. So in terms of the name of this cell, P is called the root air cell. That is the root air cell. Okay. So when there are many, so if you have many cells which are likely or which are similar, like if you have many root air cells, you are going to call them as the root air tissue, because that thing is composed of many cells which are similar and they are performing the similar function. Then as for Q is called the red blood cell. So I'm just going to say RBC. So red blood cell. Right. Then as for R, this one looks like a plant. This looks like a plant, and actually is a plant cell. But specifically, this one is called a palisade cell. So that's the reason why it's very important for you to know cell specialization and know examples of specialized cells in plants as well as in animals. So let's start with the root air cell. What is the function of the root air cell? So this root air cell absorbs water from the ground and minerals. So absorption of water. So absorption of water. So I'm just going to say H2O and mineral salts. So and the mineral salts and mineral salts. Right. Then apart from that one, we need also to know the adaptation. So when you talk of the adaptation, you look at the way the structure of this root air cell is. What structures does this root air cell have for it to perform, or has for it to perform the specific function? So in terms of the structures, we have this part here. This part here, it is called an elongated outgrowth. So this elongated outgrowth, it creates the large surface area for the absorption of water as well as the mineral salts. So we are just going to say in terms of the adaptation, remember I've said adaptation, you're looking at the structures which this cell has for it to perform the function that it is performing. So we are saying presence of an elongated. So we have an elongated outgrowth. Right. So apart from that one, we need also to know the location where these root air cells are found. So in terms of the location, the root air cells, in terms of the location, they are found at the tip of the root. So that is at the tip of the root. And here you are going to find that if you try to dig through the ground you want to see the roots of a plant, you're going to find that in terms of the way they are going to look like, they are going to appear whitish. Okay, this is because when it comes to the root air cell, they don't have chloroplast in this case. So these things that you can see, these ones, they are not chloroplast, they are cytoplasm. These ones, these my dots, they are called cytoplasm. And when you talk of the cytoplasm, that is the site where the chemical reaction occurs. So the root air cell doesn't have the chloroplast. This is because it is not exposed to the sunlight, or it is found in the ground where sunlight is not there. Alright, so let's come to the red blood cell, which is RBC. So in terms of the red blood cell, what is the function of the red blood cell? Number one, that is transport oxygen to the cells. Transport oxygen to the cells. Then apart from transporting oxygen to the cells, it also transports carbon dioxide from the cells to the lungs. So it also transport carbon dioxide from the cells. Then apart from transporting carbon dioxide from the cells, these red blood cells, or the red blood cell, it acts as a buffer. Apart from acting as a buffer, this cell membrane of the red blood cell, it is a site for the antigens. That is where the antigens are found. So the antigens, they are found on the surface membrane of the red blood cells. That is where we are going to find the antigens. So you can just choose the one which is very simple, and I prefer you choosing this one at your level. Yes. It acts as a buffer, transport carbon dioxide from the cells after depletion has occurred to the lungs. Apart from that one, transporting oxygen, that is to the cells from the lungs. Then in terms of the adaptation, or before we look at the adaptation, the location where these red blood cells are found. The red blood cells, they are found in blood. And blood is considered to be a tissue because it consists of many cells like white blood cells, red blood cells, and so on. So let's come to the adaptation. So when you talk about adaptation, I've said that you look at their structure, which are helping this same cell to perform its function. So as you can see, this part here, it is called biconcave in shape. So it is biconcave shape. So this biconcave shape, that is where now the hemoglobin is carried. And you know to say that hemoglobin has a high affinity to attract oxygen. So oxygen is carried on the same part, which is the biconcave in shape, when it is attracted to hemoglobin. So those are the things that you need to know about the red blood cell, but there are many things that are now at your level, just know that. Then let's come to the palisade cell. So the palisade cell, in terms of the function, as you can see, the palisade cell, it has these structures. So these structures, they are called the chloroplast or chlorophyll. So you can say chlorophyll or chloroplast. So these chloroplasts, they are very important in that this is a site for the process of photosynthesis. So as you can see, this palisade cell, it has abundant or many chloroplasts. So therefore, it is a site for the process of photosynthesis. Now, in terms of the location where these are located, they are just located below the upper epidermis. So in terms of the location, we can say below the upper epidermis. Below the upper epidermis. Okay, so that is one thing that you need to know. That's the location. Then in terms of the adaptation, the abundance of chloroplast for the process of photosynthesis. So what makes this palisade cell to perform its function is just that it has a lot of chloroplast. Then apart from that one, in terms of the shape vertically. In terms of the vertical shape, each side increases the surface area for the process of photosynthesis. So those are the things that need to know. So let's try to answer now. So we have question A, which is saying name each of the cells above. So we have P, which is the root hair cell, Q, which is the red blood cell. So we have the root hair cell here, root hair cell. Then for Q, we have said that this is the red blood cell, Then for R, it's a palisade cell. Of course, it's a plant cell, but specifically it is a palisade cell. Let me just do this. Then for R is a palisade cell. So we know to say that the palisade cell is a plant cell, but don't say a plant cell specifically. Since we are talking about specialized cells, so you need to specify that this is a palisade cell. Then for question B, Roman numeral number 1, state the functions of cells P and Q. So for P, that one is a root hair cell. So its function is to absorb water and mineral salts from the ground. So absorption of water and mineral salts from the ground or from the soil. So that's all for the function of P. Then when it comes to the function of Q, so we know to say that the function, the cell Q is the red blood cell. So in terms of the function, we can just say transporting oxygen to the cells. Then for Roman numeral number 2, we're saying explain the adaptations for cells P and Q to their function. So in terms of P, we have said cell root hair cell. So in terms of the adaptation, I said the presence. So presence of the elongated outgrowth. Presence of an elongated outgrowth. An elongated outgrowth. And this elongated outgrowth, it creates the large surface area for the absorption of water. So elongated outgrowth just write it nicely. So that is elongated outgrowth for large surface area. For large surface area. Surface area of absorption. Then when it comes to the adaptation of Q, so adaptation of Q, I've said Q is a red blood cell, so we can just say biconcave in shape. Biconcave in shape. And this biconcave in shape, it helps now the red blood cell to carry hemoglobin. So that is to carry hemoglobin. Then as for question C, where in the leaf is cell R located? So I've said that where this cell R located in the leaf, the palisade cell, it's located below the upper epidermis. Below the upper epidermis. Okay. So those are the functions for this question. So below the upper epidermis. Let me just write it nicely. Okay, so below the upper epidermis. Okay, so let's try to look at another one. Another one is also coming from cell specialization. So it is saying figure 1.1 shows two generalized cells F and G of the living organisms. So we have cell F and cell G. So according to how these are appearing, which one is a plant cell and which one is an animal cell? So this one is an animal cell. This is because it has an irregular shape. And this is a plant cell because it has a irregular shape. This is an animal and this is a plant cell. So identify the part labeled H. So part labeled H is called the cell membrane. And what is the function of the cell membrane? It is to select what goes in and out of the cell. And therefore, this one is called the selectively semi-permeable membrane. Then as for question Roman number 2, how does part H differ from I? So part H differ from I in that I contains cellulose, but this one doesn't contain cellulose. Okay, so we are going to say I contain cellulose. While H does not. So apart from that one, in terms of the function, this one gives the cell the fixed shape, and this one selects what goes in and out of the cell. So you can also write that one. So H select what goes in, what goes in and out of the cell, while H gives the fixed shape. Okay, then also Roman number 3 is saying explain the function of the structure labeled J. So the function of the structure labeled J, which is the vacuum. So part labeled J is the vacuum. So the function is just to store cells up. That is store cells up. Yeah. So in talk of cells up, it's just a mixture of water, sugar, and salt. So it's a solution. Then when it comes to Roman number 4, to which group of living organisms does cell F belong? So cell F is an animal cell, right? So we can just say animal. Then the following questions. So we have B. Figure 1.2 shows the cell organization levels in multicellular organisms. So we are starting with the organelles, them say organisms. Actually, we need to start from here, organelles, then K, tissue, M. We have system, then organism. So from organelles, we are going to have cells, or cells. Then from cells, a group of cells, they form a tissue. Then group of tissues, they are going to form an organ. So that is what we have. K is a tissue or tissues. Then M is an organ or organs. So identify the parts labeled D, K and M. So K is the what? The cells. Then as for part labeled M, is called the organ now, in terms of how they are arranged. Then state the level of cell organization at which muscles would be found. So in terms of the muscles contain cells. Okay, and these cells, they are in number and they perform similar function. So meaning to say that one is going to be called as a muscle tissue. Okay, so a muscle belongs to a tissue because it consists of similar cells that work together to perform a specific function. Then Roman number 3, give one example of a system in plants and in animals. So in terms of in plants, we can give transport system. Okay, transport system. So apart from transport system, we can also give plant reproduction. Okay, so plant reproduction. Then apart from plant reproduction, so this one, it can be also called translocation system. So it can also include translocation system. Okay. Then when it comes to an animal or animals, so we have animal reproduction, we have limbic system, we also have circulatory system, we also have the digestive system. Apart from digestive system, we also have respiratory system. So all those things, you can just choose from those things which I've given you. So let me just give you digestive system. Apart from digestive system, you can talk of circulatory system. You can also write respiratory system. Just depend on how you want it to be. You also have respiratory system. So you can choose from these.